All right, everyone. Welcome to the stream. Tonight we're going to be making just a quick salad because, it's getting halfway through the week and it's just nice to, do something fast. Well, reasonably fast at least. So we're going to be doing the Southwestern black bean salad from America's Test Kitchen, the Complete Cooking for Two cookbook, which is what I've used for a couple of other things so far. And they've got a lot of good stuff that's actually properly portioned out, which is always a plus, especially when it comes to when you only have a couple of people that you're cooking for. It's nice that it's actually only sized for a couple of people as opposed to a small army. So for this, we're going to need a few things. We're going to need our good trusty olive oil. We're going to need some lime juice. We're going to need some canned chipotle chilies. Excuse me. um, which are here. Although we aren't actually using a lot of these, we're only using about a half teaspoon. So it's kind of interesting. It has you get like an entire can, and then you only end up using a small amount of it. Apart from that, we've got some honey. I'm going to be using this macadamia honey because, frankly, it is delicious. Um, I'm really hoping this isn't too jerky. The preview I'm looking at seems to indicate that it's maybe not quite as smooth as I would prefer, but I'm not entirely certain if that's really me or if that's my system. It could be either. Could kind of go either way. I know that had a small issue with the camera earlier, so it's entirely possible that it just looks jerky to everyone. Let me know in the chat and I can try and do something if it is too jerky. Otherwise, I'll just kind of keep on going. Other than that, we're going to need an ear of corn, which I happen to have a small ear of corn right here. And there we go. We're going to need some black beans, which we're going to be rinsing these out. So there's that. Tomatoes in the refrigerator. I don't actually have fresh cilantro, even though the recipe calls for that. What I do have is this stuff that's freeze dried, which is right here. And so I tried it the other night. It actually seems to work out pretty well. You mix it with a little bit of water, and it springs straight back to life, which is nice. And then an avocado, which I have out there, and which is probably not good anymore because avocados have a ripe period that is measured in seconds rather than anything else. So, what we're going to do, I'm going to set this aside. We're going to set the corn aside for a minute. And we're going to start out by getting our oil, our lime juice. I should probably grab that lime, which has been sitting out for a couple of days. So it's starting to look more like a lemon than a lime, but it'll still taste good. So we've got our lemon lime. We've got our chipotle. We've got our honey. We'll get some salt and then a little bit of pepper. Here's the pepper. Here's the salt. We're going to be putting all this together in a small bowl. Yeah, I'm going to go for a medium bowl. A lot of times they're like, oh, it's a small bowl, and then it ends up, it's actually a medium bowl. It's just kind of how it is. All right, so a tablespoon of oil. And I've just been eyeballing stuff because, frankly, doesn't really matter too much. That looks like it's just about a tablespoon there. All right. Got a tablespoon of oil. We'll get a tablespoon of lime juice. So this is where I'm going to quickly rinse off this lime just to make sure there's nothing on the surface before I cut into it. Wouldn't really be probably too bad if there was because we're squeezing out the lime and it's pretty acidic, so I would imagine that would kill a lot of stuff. But hey, better safe than sorry, right? So we're going to go ahead and squeeze this out. And again, we're just kind of eyeballing what we think a tablespoon looks like. I don't think that there would be any issues whatsoever with using a little bit of extra lime. That just means that it tastes a little bit more like lime, which is hardly a bad thing in my book. All right, so that's our lime. Then after that, it said, what was that? Oh yeah, the chipotle chili in adobo sauce. Let me grab our, well, if I could figure out where I put the can opener, then I could grab the can opener. Oh, and this is even one of the ones that has the nice little pop top on it. Well, I got a can open that we didn't need. And then because I am completely unable to actually use pop tops without mechanical assistance of some kind, we're just going to do that. Not going to need the top because it can't exactly go back on. We're going to grab, ooh, these are very fragrant in a very good way. Just going to grab one of those. We might actually put a little bit extra in here just because it smells really good. Right there, we're just going to mince this. Make sure you know where your knife is in relation to your fingers whenever you're doing this, by the way. Alrighty, yeah, that's going to be a little bit beyond what it calls for, but I don't think that's going to be a bad thing. Go ahead and plop that in the bowl. Wash off our hands. I think the next thing it called for was honey. So it says a 1/4 teaspoon of honey. Alrighty. Well, let's see if I can get the cork out of this honey here. There we go. And we're just going to put in about what we think is a 1/4 teaspoon. Plus or minus. And that's probably about there. Alrighty, I'm going to leave that open for a minute so it can all flow back down so I don't glue the lid shut. And I think it said to whisk all this together. Oh, a little bit of salt and pepper. Okay. Well, we'll start off with the pepper because I have it here. That's approximately the 1/4 teaspoon it asked for. We're going to grab a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Rapidly running out of places to put things. Might be a little extra, but again, a little extra salt just adds to the flavor. All right, we're going to whisk this up with just a fork. I don't know if anyone saw it, but a massive recall was announced today, or possibly yesterday, about onions. So if you have any white or red or sweet or yellow onions, there's a massive recall and you're not supposed to be eating them. So that's my PSA for this stream. Don't eat onions until you verify that they are safe. It's specifically one manufacturer, so as long as you can verify you don't have anything from that manufacturer, you should be good. All right. We're going to get the corn ready to go. I'm going to set this aside. We're going to set the black beans aside for a moment. And then I'm going to quickly clean off this cutting board here, and we are going to work on the corn because everyone likes corn. And we're just getting the sauce off there. All right, so corn. We are going to shuck this corn, which is not something I do very often, so hopefully I don't botch it horribly. Ooh, it's got some nice silk up there. There's probably something I could do with all of these corn wrappers, but I'm honestly not sure what I could do that would really work with this. Keep it and make tamales, I suppose. But probably not really required. Alrighty. I've got a few more hairs on there. I'm just going to try and rub off. Alright. Now we're just going to take our knife. And I read that this is supposed to be one of the fastest ways to... Yep, that's pretty fast. That's perhaps a little too fast. Let me grab a bowl for that. This time I will use a small bowl because I think it's probably a little bit more of an exercise in futility than anything else. We're going to see if we can just kind of come along here and pop the kernels off. This is not a great position to actually use your knife. I'm rapidly coming to discover. There we go. At least not when you're trying to both simultaneously not cut yourself and also retain whatever it is you're going for. But hey, it works. Slowly. We're going to be sticking these in some oil and cooking them. So, not too concerned about perfection, and I think it's okay if we lose a few in the process. But yeah, this is really showing that I'm not very experienced with handling corn. I'll let you all just admire my wonderful knife work along here. I'm sure the cat's going to appreciate having corn go everywhere. But hey, I never said I was an expert. And frankly, that's probably enough for what we're doing. He says, accidentally flinging more on the floor. I'll grab the rest of this off of the cutting board here. Set that to the side. Alright. Yeah, that's probably enough. It's not a corn salad, it's a black bean salad. Corn just accentuates and highlights and provides a balance. Alright, so we've got our corn, and what we're going to do is we're going to bring that over here. By which I mean I'll grab the phone, which will hopefully not die on me because its power level is getting kind of low and I have it plugged in. We're going to bring this over here. Quickly try to plug it back in again. And it's shutting down. Didn't quite get it fast enough. Alright, so there will be a momentary pause here. This is a good aspect of using a separate audio source, however. It means that while the picture may freeze for the next minute or so, you can still hear my dulcet tones discussing whatever happens to pass through my mind in that moment, which is either a positive or a negative depending on who you are. and how much you enjoy my voice. Um, all right, let's see here. While we wait for that, I'm going to start getting the oil heated up. So I've got my cast iron skillet here. I'm just going to put it on some medium heat. Grab that olive oil, and we're going to put about a tablespoon of the oil in. We're not trying to fry it, we're just trying to make sure that it doesn't stick too much. Um, yep, that's about a tablespoon there. Gotta make sure that the phone is turning back on while that heats. All right, the phone's back on, so hopefully in another moment or two, it will reconnect and begin streaming the cast iron cookware to the world. Well, and then it freezes, which is always a positive. It's exactly what you would like to see, generally speaking. Okay, I think we're back live again. Alright, so we've got the cast iron heating up with just a little bit of olive oil. Um, it says still shimmering. I have never been very good at telling when oil is shimmering. I think that's a personal failing on my part. It's something I need to get better at figuring out for myself. But yeah, got about a tablespoon of oil in there. We're gonna grab our corn now that it's in there. I think it's pretty warm. Oh yeah, there it goes. It's getting pretty liquid, and now it is starting to shimmer just a little bit. Okay, I guess I can see what they're talking about. Ah, it's got a nice sizzling noise. All right, so we're just gonna get that in there. We're just going to kind of cook this up until it's apparently golden brown, which is supposed to be about 6 to 8 minutes. And that's going to be kind of the bulk of what we're doing. We've already got our dressing. We've got this. I'm going to go ahead and rinse out the black beans. Once I've stirred this up a little bit. All right, so that's going to keep going for a minute. Turn it down just a touch. Then I'm going to grab the tomato, and I was going to do this on camera, but then the camera apparently dies whenever I unplug it, so you'll have to use your imagination as you watch the corn cook slowly. But I've got a tomato here. I'm going to take that tomato and I'm going to wash it so that it is clean. And then I'm going to go ahead and start chopping that up just a little bit. Let's make sure we don't repeat the mistake of the onions from the other day and slice it too finely. But it looks like I am supposed to core it, seed it, and chop it fine. So I think what that is essentially saying is that I can go nuts with as much chopping as I would like. Which is always, it's nice when a recipe lets you have the freedom that you wish to have when it comes to cutting things carefully or not so carefully, depending on the day. I've cut it open. I'm just quickly pouring it and trying not to horribly injure myself with the knife, which is sometimes easier said than done. Trick, as I've said a couple times before, is to make sure you've got a very sharp knife, because a sharp knife is a knife that you are not putting a ton of pressure on, and therefore is a knife that is safer, because you're more easily able to just kind of get in there and do the surgical precision that you need to do in order to accomplish your goals. Alright, so we've got a cord, we're just chopping it up. Sounds like the corn is popping a little bit. I'll be perfectly honest, I'm not 100% certain exactly which of these devices is sending audio right now. I'm pretty certain that the one that I'm speaking into, which is the headset, is, I know that one's sending audio, but I'm not sure if the other one is. Because I don't think I have it muted, and it seems to work about 40% of the time. So, 40% of the time it works every time. But I'm not really sure if you're able to get this delicious sounding crackling that the corn is making. I suspect not, but I don't know that for certain. I know that there's at least some audio going in because YouTube tells me very strenuously when there's not. And like I said, I'm pretty certain that's the microphone I'm speaking into. But it's kind of a pity that the other one probably is not working, because it's just the corn making this little popping sound is just delightful to listen to. And of course, you don't get any of the fragrance. And the warm corn is smelling absolutely wonderful. So basically, I'm saying that, if you're only watching these, you're missing half the fun. I always try to make sure that I include recipes, so you're always welcome to try and cook along if you're so inclined. And here's the tomatoes, so you know that I'm not just making up, what I'm doing off camera, which is, of course, always a potential issue. And so let's see, we've got our tomato. I think now is probably the time to rinse those black beans. I'm going to give this another stir. And add a little bit more oil. It looks like this stuff's starting to stick a little bit. I think that we're getting kind of close on the corn. So I'm going to grab just a little bit more oil for that. Another teaspoon or two. Not try to fry it. Just try and make sure that, especially with cast iron, it honestly soaks into the cast iron quite a lot. Not as much of it gets onto the food as you would think. But it helps to retain the cast iron's, pretty non-stick surface, which, of course, is part of the reason that people use cast iron. I personally quite enjoy the fact that cast iron stays hot for quite some time, which is very handy when you're cooking. Alright, we've got our black beans here, which is completely off camera. And I'm just dumping these out, pouring in some water, and repeating a couple times. I only need to use a cup or two, or 3/4 cup, I think, of the black beans, so I'm not actually rinsing the entire thing. I'm really just trying to get that top inch or two. Basically, I'm being lazy about it. But hey, if you've seen my other streams, you know that that is no new thing. It's just kind of how it normally goes. I'm trying to figure out what I should stream next, so if anyone's got any suggestions, go ahead and drop those in the chat or as a comment. I'm always interested to see what people are thinking about making, so if you've got any ideas or comments on what you're going to be making, you leave those too. Alright, I've got these rinsed. Got the black beans coming along, or the corn, not the black beans, I already just rinsed those black beans. Yeah, these are getting to be a nice golden color. I think they've got maybe another minute. Because there's a couple in here that are still a little bit paler, so I'm going to try and spread them out a little bit. I've got the heat turned down so they don't burn. And alright, I'm going to grab the cilantro. I'm going to use, looks like a couple tablespoons is what it recommends. So, I've got a couple tablespoons of cilantro here. And before you use cilantro, of course, you've got to make sure that no one has a propensity to taste soap in cilantro. We're going to go ahead and pour this in. I stir that around a little bit. It's going to soak up some of the oil and water that is in there, and by the time we mix everything else in, it will be as if it was fresh, which is nice. And I'm also going to put in, just here while our corn's mixing, I'm going to put in the, let's see, how much was that? Is it a quarter cup? 3/4 cup, all right. A little bit more. It's actually most of the can. I might as well put in the full can. Let me finish rinsing that out. Hadn't bothered with the stuff at the very bottom, but I will now. Alright, got that rinsed out. Gonna dump that in as well. I guess it makes sense. It is a black bean salad, right? I think that corn is completely ready now. It is this gorgeous golden brown color. So we are going to go ahead and turn off the heat on that. And then we're going to transfer that over here to the glass bowl. And I'm doing this off camera because otherwise I think, well, actually, nope, there's no way that's not going to work. Alright, so I'm just going to drop that in very carefully, trying not to either spread corn everywhere, which I have already failed at, and more importantly, not dropping this extremely hot cast iron onto anything, actually. Alright, so we've got here our bowl. We're just going to kind of mix in everything else. We've got a couple nice colors in here. We've got a little bit of green from the cilantro. We've got that beautiful golden brown color from the corn. Let's put in the tomatoes. Just going to kind of gently fold everything together. And then I'm going to go see if I can grab some avocado, and then if I can, I'm going to leave this looking at the stove for a second because I don't really want to pick it up and move it until I absolutely need to. I'm trying to give it an extra couple seconds to charge up. I don't know how much good it's going to do, but I'm going to try. So we're going to look at our avocados here, and they are Maybe just a tad overripe, but pretty close to being good, I think. So, let's see if I can very carefully transfer this back. I make absolutely no promises. It's entirely possible this whole thing is going to just stop working. Alright, really fast. Got that there. Got power here. Let's plug back in. Hey, it worked. Alright. I didn't think it was going to, but it did. See? I've got everything here. I've got a little bit of drama in terms of, what am I going to cut myself with a knife? I've got the intrigue, what's going on off camera while you can't see it. And then the mystery, which is, will the camera die before I manage to plug it back in? You get it all. Alrighty. So we've got our avocado here. And I'm going to quickly rinse this off. I guess I could have done that while it was still trying to charge up a little bit. And then you could have had that suspense just a couple seconds longer. But I didn't. So now you get to just stare down at a cutting board for a moment while I finish washing this. Alrighty. Now for our avocado, we're going to just kind of cut all the way around, just like this. Pop. And that's how you get an avocado open. You cut all the way around it. You twist it just a little bit to unlock it. And then you can use your knife to just kind of pull out that seed. Alrighty. So this says we need half an avocado cut into half-inch pieces. Alright, the way that I'm hearing that is that we're going to be kind of cubing it up inside. It's not pieces, it said pieces, not slices. So instead of just purely slicing it, we're also going to be cutting it crosswise. So we're going to do this. You can tell I'm not, fantastic with my knife by the fact that I'm going kind of slowly. We're just going to kind of see if I saw this done a couple times. You just kind of flip it. And then by flipping it, a bunch of it just drops straight out. And then the rest just kind of very gingerly peeled off. You don't want to bruise any of it. Alrighty. So that's our half avocado. I now have the wonderful restorative avocado oil all over my hands. So my hands will probably be quite soft for a while. Well, yeah, you're not supposed to use a ton of force when you're unlocking it. It's just a little bit of force. We're just going to kind of gingerly fold this in. Just like this. And then it's time to give it a little bit of a taste. Just to make sure that it is seasoned correctly. It's pretty good, but It's a nice little bit of spice there from the adobo pepper, or from the chipotle pepper. It needs more salt. Grab a little bit more salt here. I have discovered that generally more salt makes things taste better. It's hardly a new discovery. I think every chef knows that. But more salt, to a point, is always better. It's one of those things that the human brain is just hardwired to enjoy. Alright, just a quick little bit there. Yep, that tastes pretty good. Alright, so that is how you make a quick and easy Southwestern black bean salad. Um, it looks pretty good, tastes pretty good. It's pretty easy to prepare. The hardest part is not throwing corn kernels all over your kitchen. Just try to keep it contained a part of your kitchen. If you can do that, then you will be a success. I'm going to go ahead and end it here, and so I can go off and enjoy this salad before it gets... Well, it's already kind of warm because it's got the corn in there. It's already kind of cold because there's some refrigerated stuff in there. So before it gets less neutral, I guess, in terms of temperature. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Um, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.